Hello guys, this is the Gaming Revolution here and welcome back to an all new Call of Duty 2021 video. Today we're once again going to be talking about the rumoured WWII Vanguard game, which is apparently this year's new Call of Duty, apparently developed by Sledgehammer Games. There's been some recent damning rumours floating around from a couple insiders over on Twitter. First of all, Tom Henderson, also known as the Long Sensation, and also the Modern Warfare 2 Ghost are both claiming that they have independent sources of which have let them know that the development behind the scenes for this game is a bit of a disaster and the game is in a bit of a mess state right now. But these are just rumours. This is not official information coming from Activision or Sledgehammer Games, so we obviously have to take it with a grain of salt. Everything is subject to change. Even if these games are a bit of a mess right now, there is always the possibility that they may swing it around in time for launch. But I don't think we should be freaking out for a different reason that I will get into in a little second, because I don't think we should really be freaking out too much about this like I have seen some people doing on Twitter. Although I think we should remain skeptical. We shouldn't ever overhype ourselves, especially when people feel like they get let down every year. But at the same time, I don't really feel like these pieces of information are particularly damning enough to have a full-on meltdown. But before I share my thoughts, this video has been kindly sponsored by Fallen Angel from Indie Boost. Fallen Angel is a game available on Steam that's a symphony of pixel art and demon-fueled action. It's a 2D top-down action RPG with strategic, fast-paced combat, lore-driven items, weapons, and fun character progression to suit your preferred combat style. Set in a world inspired by biblical apocrypha and more than a little modern style, the many realms of heaven are a strange and varied place. Lucifer won't just be slicing his way through pearly gates and angelic choirs, but strange high-tech constructs, idyllic Earth-like planes, floating islands, and more. Each Archangel will have a strong thematic influence on the environments and creatures the player will encounter in each realm. As the Fallen One, you'll be throwing down with all the armies of heaven across a multitude of strange realms, from crumbling ruins to lush green valleys to cyberpunk nightclubs and to far stranger places beyond. You'll have to contend with roaming and flying angelic beasts of all shapes with wings, tentacles, too many eyeballs, and without a rosy-cheeked harp playing cherub in sight. The game is regularly updated with new content to keep things fresh. For example, a new punishment mode was just added. Take up the mantle once more and return to the heavens for the game's biggest update since launch. In the punishment mode, you step into a remixed, refreshed second run-through of heaven with tougher combat and new challenges. Expect to fight bigger, stronger versions of familiar foes with enhanced abilities, and the bosses have picked up a few new tricks too. Worse still, they've shared some of their power with their minions. Players will find miniature but still deadly copies of the Archangels leading enemy squads out into the realm. It's not all pain and suffering here. To ease the sting and even up the odds a little, the punishment mode moves many upgrade shrines and item boxes that can be found near the beginning of Lucifer's adventure, getting him back up to speed and ready to tackle these new threats. For people returning to the game, you should experience many quality of life improvements since your last rampage through the pearly gates, including a new map system added in the latest update, making traversing the heavens easier than ever before. So if this game sounds awesome to you, you can check it out using the link in this video's description. So we're bringing it back to the subject of this video. According to the Modern Warfare 2 Ghost, Call of Duty 2021 was at some point planned to be the Modern Warfare sequel, aka Modern Warfare 2. But obviously the Modern Warfare reboot has been a massive success. So Activision said, you know what, we're going to give you another year of development so that Infinity Ward get a full 3-year cycle like they got for Modern Warfare 2019 to ensure that the sequel lives up to the hype of the first game and can be an even better game. So it seems like the Modern Warfare sequel is going to be releasing in 2022. And instead, Sledgehammer Games are making this year's Call of Duty. This does make sense though, because obviously the Modern Warfare sequel is expected to be a massive success, and Activision just don't want to take that risk that it doesn't have enough development time. So instead, they're basically throwing Sledgehammer Games under the bus and forcing them to make a game in a really short time period in order to fill that gap, and they're giving Infinity Ward much more leg room to work with. And Sledgehammer Games were initially working on Call of Duty 2020 with Raven Software before they fell out, and then Treyarch were forced to step in and take over development of the game and turn it into Black Ops Cold War. Because of that, Sledgehammer Games have only got 2 years to work on WWII Vanguard because they were previously working on this other Call of Duty. During that time, they also lost a ton of developers after Glenn Schofield and Michael Condrey left the studio, but they have since rehired thousands of new employees, so they are standing strong once again, and hopefully the game does turn out well. They do have some of the older leads, but the majority of the studio is pretty much brand new at this point, and that is the reason as to why we can't really judge this game based off of Sledgehammer Games' past Call of Duties, because the majority of the developers are brand new. But the big reason as to why I don't think we should be freaking out about this is because every single Call of Duty pretty much is a mess behind the scenes in terms of development. Apart from Modern Warfare 2019, I think that went pretty smoothly, although even then it did have some issues. That's just the nature of game development. It seems like it's just an industry standard, really, where everything is a bit of a clusterfuck and it's just a massive mess. We've heard countless stories in the past, with the most recent example being Black Ops Cold War. As I said earlier, Raven Software and Sledgehammer Games were working on the game originally. They started to have some issues with it. Treyarch were forced to take over the project. Also, during Modern Warfare 3, half of Infinity Ward's developers left the studio because they didn't feel like they were getting paid enough. And then Activision forced Sledgehammer Games to cancel their third-person Vietnam Call of Duty game to help make Modern Warfare 3 with the leftover employees at Infinity Ward. Black Ops 3's campaign was similarly a massive mess. It was originally planned to be some sort of big open world experience, and they then ended up reworking it about a year out from launch. And that's why the campaign feels really empty. The missions are really boring overall. The storyline ties into a lot of philosophy, and I think the storyline is actually good, but the overall Call of Duty players can't really grasp the concept. In Black Ops 2, they were obviously developing TranZit, and it was supposed to be this big open world zombies experience with a ton of different modes. There was going to be a non-nuked version and also a lava version of the map. And there was tons of things planned for TranZit, but it was just too ambitious. And that is why TranZit ended up being a disaster, because they planned for it to be something much bigger and they didn't manage to execute what they wanted to do. Black Ops 4 was originally planned to have a campaign. It was going to be some sort of 2v2 weird campaign. That ended up getting cancelled, and Treyarch had to work on Blackout instead with Raven Software. So pretty much every single Call of Duty, particularly the Treyarch games I might add, seems to have a lot of issues behind the scenes, but that is completely independent of how good the games actually turn out being. I even think Black Ops 2 had a lot of issues behind the scenes before its release. I've heard lots of discussion and rumours behind the scenes regarding that, and that game ended up turning out to be fantastic. So all in all, I don't really think we should be worried about this, because every single Call of Duty goes through a ton of issues prior to launch, and then we end up receiving it. And yes, lots of people have been arguing that the recent Call of Duties are on the decline and they're lacking a lot of features, but honestly, Call of Duty is at a massive high point right now. The player base has never been higher. If you include Warzone, Call of Duty Mobile, Black Ops Cold War, all of the new updates that those games are getting collectively, it's more than we've ever seen before. If you include all of the content and all of the modes, I know that some modes are left out, for example 6v6 multiplayer in Black Ops Cold War, but if you include all of the content from all of the games, there is a lot there. So yeah, this is my own personal opinion. I don't think we should be freaking out about this, because every single year we hear that Call of Duty is a mess. For example, prior to Black Ops Cold War, we had a lot of rumors, and it released, and I think it's a pretty decent game. It receives a lot of hate online. A lot of people don't like Black Ops Cold War for some reason. I think that the zombies is fantastic. Yes, it is kind of lacking a little bit, but you have to bear in mind that Outbreak is going to become a massive thing over time, and as that expands in the future, it's going to become a lot more likable and enjoyable, especially once we have the Easter egg added with Season 3. The multiplayer, yes, the 6v6 side of things is kind of lacking, but I don't think the game is bad at all. I think that the core gameplay is pretty fun and enjoyable. Despite it going through a lot of issues and despite a lot of hardship on the developers, they ended up pulling through. And one thing I do want to say is, regardless of whether the games come out good or not, or whether you enjoy them, the developers are not lazy people. No developer is lazy. They all work very hard on their products. Yes, hard work doesn't necessarily mean that the product is going to be good, but a big issue with Call of Duty is that Activision push the developers to release a game every single year, regardless of whether there is a pandemic or anything going on in the world, there will always be a Call of Duty game every single year. The developers are pressured hardcore and they have massive crunch time, so they are working non-stop, especially closer and closer to launch. Before the pandemic, they would literally sleep at the studio for 2 weeks straight, just constantly working on the game to make sure it's ready for launch. But yeah, these are my opinions on everything. I don't think we should worry because we hear this every single year. I know there's probably going to be some people complaining in the comment section saying that this game's going to be a disaster and all of the recent games have been disasters. I think your reality is kind of warped a little bit. Even I don't enjoy Modern Warfare, but a lot of people do, and it's done wonders for the franchise, and it has a lot of content if you include everything and Warzone. And while I personally don't enjoy the gameplay style, it did come out pretty solidly. It's just not particularly my taste, but it suits the tastes of other people. Anyways, that's everything I wanted to talk about in today's video. As a reminder, this video has been kindly sponsored by Fallen Angel. If you want to check it out on Steam, using the link in this video's description. Anyways, thank you for watching the video, and make sure to subscribe if you're not here for the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.